A volute crater is a vase used for mixing wine and water for symposiums. A symposium is basically an all-male drinking party. On vases decorated with symposium scenes, a large open container with a foot is often depicted, and the name crater is appropriate. Volute craters are usually placed in the dining room on a type of tripod, and when someone uses the volute crater, the liquid is poured into the opening. The person mixes contents inside and uses a ladle or a smaller jug to get the mixed liquid. Volute craters also have other uses. They can explicit funerary iconography, which is basically when the crater is placed in a building for the deceased. And if any person or Greek was overseas, the crater is usually used to contain ashes of the deceased. It can also be used for religious purposes. The Greek historian Herodotus describes many enormous and costly craters dedicated at temples or used in religious ceremonies to hold libations. Volute craters are usually made of pottery or metal and are elaborately ornamented. There are many different types of craters, but specifically, volute craters are egg-shaped, with handles that rise from the shoulder and curl in a volute, which is basically a scroll-shaped form, above the rim. The process of making a volute crater vase is kind of complicated. You have to get clay, but in order to get the clay, you have to mine it and mix it with water in outdoor pools, which allows the impurities to sink to the bottom. When water evaporates, it leaves behind a purified clay with all the impurities gone. Then you have to use a potter's wheel to shape the vase into the egg-shaped body. And to produce the characteristic red and black colors found on vases, Greek craftsmen used liquid clay as paint, also known as slip, and perfected a complicated three-firing process. The three-firing process has, hence its name, 3 steps on opening and closing vents to allow oxygen in and out of vents of a clay, which is usually where the craters are in for baking, to create the red and black colors. There are basically 2 types of techniques. An older version is the black figure technique, which has the figures painted black and leaving the background red. However, the vase I'm about to show you is basically an improved technique of the black figure technique, which is basically the red figure technique, which allows the figures to be red and the black part colors are in the background. Now for a brief discussion on the vase itself. The vase was made from 340 to 300 BC. It was made from terracotta, which is basically fired clay. It was originally made in Greece, then exported to Italy so that Italian artists can recreate it. The subject on the vase was basically over the Trojan War. The Trojan War, in Greek tradition, was a way for Zeus to reclaim the wife of the king of Sparta, who was kidnapped by the Trojan prince Paris. The war itself was basically a war of gods and heroes against Troy. But on the obverse of the vase, the Trojan prince Troilos, in the center, is about to be killed by the Greek Achilles, a prelude to the war itself. Troilos was basically a Trojan prince that if he turned 20, Troy wouldn't fall. But unfortunately, he was killed by Achilles while he was drinking from a fountain. The other side of the vase is unknown, but I can guess it has something to do with the Trojan War.
The piece I chose for my segment is the statue of a wounded Amazon. The Amazons were depicted as a mythical race of female warriors from the Asia Minor. The copy of the wounded Amazon shown in this picture represents a refugee from battle who has lost her weapons and bleeds from a wound under the right breast. These sculptures were created during the Middle Classical era, or the Golden Age of Greek art. This is estimated to be from 450 to 400 BC. The sculpture fits the description of pieces from the Golden Age, as emotional restraint is a characteristic from this era. The wounded Amazon is bleeding from battle, but despite her circumstances, her face shows no sign of pain and fatigue. According to Pliny in his book Naturalis Historiae, there are 5 recordings of bronze statues that were found in the Artemision of Ephesus. There was a competition among 5 sculptors, and the winner's sculpture would have a place in the Great Temple of Artemis, also located in Ephesus. The winner of this competition was Polycletus, who is also known for his other sculpture, the Doryphorus, or also known as the Spear Bearer. At the inauguration of Artemision, the statues of 4 Amazons were dedicated by Polycletus, Critias, Chrysilas, and Phradmon. Three archetypes tend to be recognized: the Mathieu, attribute to Phidias, the Berlin type from Polycletus, and the Capitoline type from Crasilius. Each has the same scale and attitude and shows the Amazon wearing a loose chiton that is gathered at the waist and falls from one shoulder or the other, exposing the breast. In this picture, the three statues shown are Roman copies of the original Greek statue. One can be found in the Met Museum in New York, which is pictured on the left side. The originals from the Greek were made from bronze, while the ones seen today are made from marble by the Romans. Thankfully, we can still see the greatness of these Greek statues, which were well preserved by the Roman copy.